See, that's how it's found. And that's why 10 years ago, I realised, about 8 years ago actually, I realised, forget it. There's no point living in the countryside, like rural places. The place I lived was 10% of the population density of the southwest. But there's no point living in rural places because the mermaids and mermen who'd gradually colonised rural places, they hadn't brought their children up. There's always some excuse. They hadn't brought their children up to always close a gate behind you automatically. And thus, within a few years, because I lived in a pretty remote place, I knew exactly who was walking when. I didn't spy on people ever. But you'd notice, he's waddled up back from the off-licence, 21-year-old. If I go out for a walk half an hour later, the gate's left open. The farmers started to hate everybody. And because I'm the only person who actually would stop and chat with the farmers on my often meanders around, of course, they put their energy onto me. It's like, yeah, it's got nothing to do with me. I was brought up in a farm, plus I got my head together. I never, ever, ever panic or get in any kind of rumpus, no matter what anybody does. I will double check I've closed the gate. But, nope, nearly every time I've been through this one, it's been left open. And the farmers end up hating the land, those walkers, because of this, and I don't want that. But your social workers, fucking child workers, fucking skill teachers, fucking this whole class that's taken over the countryside, a lot of them are semi-retired on government pensions. They don't take any of the responsibility for them not managing to get it into their children as second nature. You have to double check again. No, they'll blame it on something else. And it's like, you can't say that. And excuse me, love, right? Because it always is, right? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, this wasn't happening. As your kind of people have meandered into the rural, less populated areas, I notice lots of gates are open now. You're welcome. But please, that's your starting point. If you put on Facebook that you shamanically fucking care about everybody and the planet and whatever, well, the most important thing in this region is relations with people who own the land, called farmers. So if you want to actually have those relations to be healthy, you're going to have to. No, they didn't. They couldn't even think of this. I mean, there is the tritest, cheesiest phrase ever of the country code, which I think was invented about 40 years ago. Number one, bloody hell, close the farmers' gates. Yeah. And yet they all now market themselves as being in touch with nature, yeah, and into their artwork or their counselling practice or all of this. Excuse me, you failed with your children in the basic first step. And that's when I realised, especially by 5 years ago, when it just got worse and worse, and then 3 years ago even worse, leave this country if possible. But I've had to stay around to try. I've been on standby for nearly 15 years. If there's a possibility of having a healthy way forward with yet another damaged young adult in Britain who I care about. But there was no point, which I've just accepted the last month or two.